What's up, guys? And no, that title is not clickbait. At least it's not to me. Forge in Halo Infinite was made in a way that goes against what Forge started as. But before I go any further on why Halo Infinite's Forge was made wrong, I need you to first watch this clip I took from a Bungie Viadoc from back in the day, explaining why Forge was important to Halo 3, and so you'll have a better understanding of where I'm coming from on the case I'm about to make on why Forge was made wrong in Halo Infinite. So watch that, and then we're going to discuss why what I'm going to bring up afterwards is a bigger deal than you might think. Lastly, before we get into it, I am still excited about Forge and Halo Infinite, but the problem that I'm going to discuss is one that needs to be fixed, and the Forge team's #1 priority after launch. This is also not a Bungie good 343 bad video. So with all of that out of the way, please stick around for the discussion after this clip.
Save Films and Forge, I think, represent the coolest features that we have in Halo 3.
We're giving them the tools to basically play Halo how they want to play it. They can set up any map however they see fit.
It's just crazy how much a map will change with just a small variation of either weapon placement or just where the flag spawns in CTF. If you don't like it there, move it 1 meter to the right.
If you want to in Forge, you could build your own base on the beach, maybe add some turrets for defense, add some crates to hide behind.
Try building a building out of fusion coils and then blow it up.
You could have 50 versions of Sandtrap that are each built differently, that each emphasize a different type of game style.
Forge is actually an old school Bungie name. It was the name of the map editor for the Marathon games. It's kind of a nod to the hardcore Bungie fans.
One of the guys on your team is this partially omnipotent little monitor flying around, dropping weapons for you and holding crates to block enemy fire, picking up your Scorpion and carrying you to the other side of the map.
It's like the hand of God that has come and picked up this large vehicle and started slinging it around right in front of this guy's face.
Your buddy can drop a bubble shield in front of you, now instantly you're protected. Maybe now you'd like to go on the offensive, ask your buddy to drop a Spartan laser for you. Next thing you know, you've got a laser in real time.
Once we realized we could do something like that, we're like,
This will be the mother of all multiplayer matches.
You can manipulate everything on the map. It's not just weapons and grenades and vehicles. It's spawning. It's where the flag sits. It's where the turret sits. It's every single object in the level.
They're gonna love the Forge because they can spend hours dropping tanks on each other.
Each item has a cost associated with it.
You have only so much Halo currency to spend on a particular map.
Yeah, I've joked that people are going to take our maps that are broken, and within a week they're going to fix them because they're actually going to make the real version of like, hey, you know what, Bungie, your version of territories in this level sucked, and here's the real one.
we're not really sure what people are going to do.
People are going to figure out new ways to use the Forge that I think we don't even understand or know are possible yet.
The next crazy thing that you're like, oh my god, they just took Forge and they took save films of that and they added voiceovers and they just did Macbeth. Holy crap, like that's crazy and that's awesome.
Everyone's riffing off each other's ideas, and then all of a sudden some diamond just emerges from it where everyone needs to have this map.
Oh, this is so cool. I can't believe we're actually letting people do this.
This is the stuff that's going to keep people playing for years on end, that's going to make a billion hours get logged on Xbox Live. This is the thing that is going to really set our game apart from the rest, I think.
Now that you have watched that clip and have all of that fresh in your heads, I'm going to put on screen a part of this Forge blog post and read it to you. You say you'll be adding more features once Forge is released. What features do you plan to add later on? Right now the team is focused on supporting the Forge beta launch. Once we go live, here are the highly requested features we will be diving deeper into. Editing on dev maps, minigame modes, and AI spawning tools. We will also be continuing our dialogue with the Forge community and integrating bug fixes, quality of life updates, content drops, and feature work based on that feedback. And as noted above, we are actively working on additional palette offerings for future updates. So from the developers' mouths, you can see that for the first time ever in Forge, you can no longer edit pre-existing developer-made maps, and that's a big deal. This affects so many things and you might not even realize it. But before I get into on why this is bad, I will say they do have half of this problem fixed already. What I mean by that is that you can add geometry to a pre-existing map, but what you cannot do is remove weapon pads, spawn points, game modes, grenades, vehicles, anything. Everything that is on the map by default cannot be changed with Forge. That is fucked. And why is it fucked, you may ask? Well, firstly, this messes up a social aspect of Forge. Being able to hop on a developer-made map and goof around with your friends and create your own version of a pre-existing map is a big part of the social side of Forge. Sure, you can create your own maps and do this, but you're missing part of the charm to Forge. It is also vital for new foragers to get their hands on the tool in a meaningful way. One that will help them at getting better using the tool in the future as they progress their abilities. Now I understand that Forge isn't what it used to be, which was a simple map editor, and it's now basically a game engine itself at this point. While that's all fine and dandy, moving completely away from what Forge started out as in the first place not only affects Forge, it affects the whole game. People wonder why the pros have to have GAs in competition to not use certain weapons. If you don't know what a GA is, that stands for Gentleman's Agreement. That is because Forge wasn't made for us and the devs, it was just made for us. 343 literally can't even use their own in-game tool now to efficiently fix their maps and change out weapons or equipment the pros don't want to be used in competition. We also wonder why we haven't gotten more than 2 developer-made maps in a year, and that's because 343 knows this is a problem as well and they're trying to fix it behind the scenes. But if they keep adding in new maps before the problem is fixed, it just makes the problem worse. Sort of like cross-core customization. The more they add, the longer it takes to fix. We as the community campaigned for equipment to come back into Halo instead of Spartan abilities, and we did it because if you had a bad piece of equipment on the map, it's easier to change out that piece of equipment on a map than trying to change an ability that's attached to the player. Well, not in Halo Infinite. And nobody is really talking about this, and it's kind of weird, because this is literally the first time in Forge's history that this is a problem, and we're just going to act like it's not a big deal. I mean, I get it, they said they were going to address it, and this is one of the reasons it's launching in beta, but how long is that going to take, because this affects so many things in the game. This needs to be the top priority after the launch of Forge. While I'm not able to prove that this is a big reason why the development pipeline is clogged when it comes to getting new developer-made maps faster in Halo Infinite, and I can only speculate, it only seems logical when you look at the history of Halo and how the devs were able to maintain their games in the past through Forge. Forge should have never been made this standalone thing that can't interact with what the developers made. Whoever made that design decision made the wrong design decision. Now they're paying the price for that decision. But it's not just them, we all are, as a result. Like I said earlier though, half of this problem is addressed already because you can add geometry to maps from what I understand, but you can't change anything to developers have put down like spawns, weapons, game modes, etc. This is something that until fixed is going to affect everything that has already been made in the leaked version of Forge as well. Essentially, if you have made a map on those developer-made maps in the leaked build of Forge, from my gatherings, you have to place geometry in the developer-made map over all of the spawn points so you don't spawn on the developer-made map and instead spawn on the spawn points you placed on the maps that were made in the leaked build. This will be a direct problem with getting any of those maps into matchmaking. This is because while you might be able to fix the spawning problem, you cannot delete the weapon pads on the developer-made maps or game modes. So those things are going to show up outside of the map on your screen while you're playing any of those maps that were made in the leaked build of Forge. From a quality side of things, I don't think 343 wants that as a bad look for them, because while it might not affect us, it will have an impact on them from the backlash they'll receive from something like that. Deservedly so though, because it is a baffling design choice. They basically ripped the roots of Forge out to give us a small game engine, which is cool, don't get me wrong, but those roots were super important to the foundation of Halo as a whole, and that part isn't cool. This video was not made with the intention of me trying to say Bungie good and 343 bad. It's more about how this is a problem, and I think it impacts the rest of the experience and the actual pipeline of this game in ways many people might not notice. I know I'm repeating myself, but it needs to be resolved sooner than later. As an experienced forager that's been building maps since I was 11 years old, starting on Halo 3, I am more than fully capable at this point of designing and creating my own landscapes, but I understand not everyone is as experienced as I am, and I don't even consider myself to be really that good. There are people way better than me, but there are going to be new players to hop into Infinite's Forge to try it out, and that part of Forge is an important stepping stone in getting into Forge and not being entirely overwhelmed right at the start, and it's missing. At least it was an important part to me when Forge first started all those years back in Halo 3. I was excited of the idea of editing dev-made maps since there are finally developer-made big team battle maps in Halo Infinite. Mainly because there were no developer-made big team battle maps in Halo 5, and I love big team battle and Forge. I would love to be able to make my own versions of these big team battle maps, but unfortunately, until this problem is fixed, that's not in the books for me when this version of Forge comes out, and that sucks. It sucks for all of us, developers included. We need to make sure that 343 knows that we know that this is a big issue because we have no clue when this will be fixed. Hopefully the release is Season 3, but I do hope I've been able to make my case for why this is bad, even if I repeated myself a little bit. And if I have, consider subscribing. We need more subscribers. I just hope y'all are still excited about Forge because I definitely still am. Forge is going to be crazy, but this problem does need to be prioritized. With that said though, I'll see y'all next time. Like and subscribe, and bye bye.